Before we wander on into the episode, I just want to make sure that everyone goes out there and hits up the YouTube, check out the Spotify, check out Apple, wherever you're listening or watching to this podcast, is to go down, like it, subscribe, hit the bell if it's YouTube. Make sure you're getting those reminders. We do put these out every week. So make sure you do all that. It helps us out. And in the long run, we can make better things. So again, like, subscribe, all that fun stuff.
We can wander our way over, because this is Wandering Ways.
What's Bigfoot possibility?
Clink.
Link. What's up, everybody? It's another Wandering Ways episode. It is yours truly, Reverend Mark. And with me, per usual, he's wearing, what is it? We got tropical palm trees on there. Oh, shout out to the Maui fires. Hopefully those are getting cleaned up and the support's going there. But it's Ranger Zach. Ranger Zach, how we doing? Aloha.
Aloha. Mahalo. Thanks for having me on as usual. Good. I'm doing good. This is the shirt. I don't know if you remember, but this is the shirt I wore when we were in Hawaii because they lost my luggage in Phoenix. Don't know why they took it off the plane in Phoenix, but they did. And I was forced to go buy a shirt because it was like 3 days no showering. So had to do that. So this is that shirt. Aloha. It's a couple surfboards.
Aloha.
Exactly. You're the white tour guide of any Hawaiian luau trip, whatever you may be going. All right, everybody. Aloha.
Yeah. It really is. It really is. And the thing is the white guy will do that, and white people eat that shit up.
That's why they do it. And it's crazy what, culture vultures can do.
Yeah, right.
But you're seeing that. You're seeing that in the native stuff right now.
How are you doing? What's new? Anything?
New? Oh, dude, I'm gonna be hitting the road right after this podcast. Well, not right after, but like right after we record this evening. I'm heading up to Sealy. I gotta go pick up the raft. I left it up there from when Colton were up there. I should have thrown it in the back of his truck, but I was like, you know what? I'll just I'll deal with it. I'll grab it on my own. And then I gotta have the sheriff come verify. So in Oregon, here's some little info for you wanderers. In Oregon, if you're trying to register a trailer, right? Under like a certain weight, certain length, whatever hauls and whatnot. So this little boat I have, basically this small trailers, you don't need a license them in Oregon. So my grandpa's had this thing since like the 60s, 70s. Okay. It's kind of like homemade trailer. There's no make or model or brand number, nothing like that on there. So I'm like, oh, I'm gonna register it here in the state of Montana. So you got to go through the whole process of being like, this thing didn't have that. So I had to have a sheriff come out, inspect it, say, yep, that's not a thing. Take that paperwork into the DMV, have them say, okay, that's good. Here's a VIN number now. Go stamp it on the freaking frame of the trailer somewhere. So now I got to do that, which I've done. Like it's on there. It's been on there. I just got to get a sheriff to come by and verify it and sign the new paperwork, and then we should be good. So that's kind of on the books. And then I'm coming back, going to go to the fair because at the fairgrounds, I have a lot of photos there. I entered, got some ribbons, got some blue ribbons, some red ribbons. Apparently you get some money, hopefully. So I'm interested to see if I get paid for winning some ribbons. And then got 3 photos coming your way. No one wanted to buy them. I had 3 photos of Mark. Yep. So you're coming home. You get them.
Such a bummer. My modeling career is just up to no standard. No one wants a picture of me.
Well, so the 3 categories, right? I enter, and I think I entered in. There's like amateur, like hobbyist, master, hobbyist, and then like master division. There's 3 divisions, like the professional division, basically. And I was like, I'm gonna go in the division 2. I've not entered before. There's no rules against it. I could start at division 1 if I wanted. but I'm like, I'm gonna go Division 2. I kind of feel like I'm a better photographer than like most, and I feel so. I got some first places, so I feel like I entered the category well. But next year I'll probably enter the master category, um, and do that. So I think the photos of you would have done well there. Um, you doing the yoga, I'm surprised didn't win. Can did. Um, Black and white, Can did. The orange lighthouse, I had it in as a portrait, I think, or Candid, and I don't know. Maybe it's not Candid. I don't. It was too staged. Maybe is what the judges thought. And then the Tranquility one, that one was pretty baller, because it it was you doing yoga in Paradise Valley there, and the winner of that category. Like there was like 3 or 4 ribbons, even like a best of show ribbon for that because it was like a special theme, and it was anything. So anything could be entered in that, So paintings, whatever. It's just like a photo of some guy doing yoga, not gonna win. Compared compared to like you should see some like the handmade shit that like had ribbons. You're like, yeah, that is Tranquility.
Yeah, yeah.
So
I feel that. I feel that. Well, I guess I just have to keep working on my modeling career. It's still in the works.
you got to go other places, man. It was all Iceland and then Montana, right? So it kind of looks like Iceland. So
Yeah,
especially
yeah, right.
on top of a mountain like that, we gotta mix it up. We got to get some other terrain, some desert, some forest, some the color. Like really though, your Instagram photo, the orange with the black, that to me is one of the best ones because it's the color pop.
I
There's
know.
I think you could get some red, yellows, some oranges. Like if you had like orange, red, yellow rain jacket in that kind of like the redwoods or the Olympic, anywhere in the Northwest, really in the foresty kind of greenish look would look good.
The like classic yellow rain jacket on like a wet day. If you can get the colors to pop in a photo, is pretty good because you'll get it. It will look wet, and you'll want that with the yellow rain jacket.
But we don't want yellow. You'll wear an orange one because go bees.
Yeah, yeah, rightfully so. But like that kind of style.
No, I know what you're saying. We don't support the yellow and green in Oregon.
No, we don't. We don't. Speaking of rain, though, uh, recently here on the West Coast, for the first time ever, the West Coast is getting a tropical storm warning, like Hurricane Category 2
Wow.
tropical storm warning.
Is that that one in relation to Hawaii? And remember they said there was that one out there by during the fires.
It might be. I don't know if it is or isn't, though. But I remember I got the New York Times update on my phone. And it was like breaking news, first time ever, tropical storm warning for the West Coast. It's Hurricane Hillary.
Yeah, I think so. Maybe that sounds familiar.
Maybe not. It looks like it was coming from Mexico.
Oh, of course, the cartel.
Yes. But I guess it's supposed to like kind of just literally go up California and then even get into Oregon.
Yeah,
So
probably.
it looks like I'm going to be getting wet here soon.
That's good though. You got those wildfires, so hopefully that'll help
Yeah,
put
we
a damp.
do need it. The smoke's been really bad. Today's better, but it's still like 180.
Yeah, when that heat gets bad too, when it's hot, I feel like on the hot, like I was telling Thea, it was about 100 degrees yesterday. We were driving on the rims. I'm like, when it's 100 degrees like this and it's smoky, because we have just like, I think it's 80 is what our air quality here in Billings is. Um, well, it's 41 right now, but it was like 60, I think, yesterday, maybe. It was a little
Yeah.
hot. It's a lot better right now because we had a cold front come in, but it's like on the hot days, it's like I can't see the bear tooths from the rims. Like it's a brown layer of fire smoke.
Yeah.
But when it does cool down to like 70s, like it is right now, 80s, I go up on the rims. I can see, you still see the haze, but like you can see the bear tooths. And it's weird how like the heat does that too. And out here in eastern Montana, man, we get some of that smoke. Like we've been dealing with it, those Alberta fires since about May. So I haven't had like a blue sky day. I mean, you have them, but like they're not the same.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the heat definitely, we just got out of a heat wave, like 107, 110 stuff. And I knew there was going to be a fire that starts up because the smoke that's coming from that we're getting, it's, because if you were listening last episode, I was going to go to Humboldt. Well, turns out can't go to Humboldt because the road to Humboldt's closed
I
due
don't
to a fire in that area.
I don't know if you have that, but if on like your iPhone, you can do the air quality maps. That's you, right? Right there. There's
Oh
Medford.
yeah, yeah. I watch air quality all day. So we have like a reader and I have a website. I can pull up right now and show everyone the numbers that
Oh, I'm
are like for work. So let's see here. What are we at right now? Oh, we're doing way better. We're at maybe not won't be able to see it, but 172.
That is a lot better. That's good that that's dropped. I was looking too yesterday. It was really clear, but like in over in Western Montana, we have a couple fires. You could really see the red spots, and then you could see where like the smoke was trailing off to.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool.
If anyone's interested in smoke and like fires and like kind of watching it, airnow.gov has a whole fire map and you can see where the smoke is. You can see air quality for all sorts of areas. You can see where fires are. It's a really cool. I mean, if you nerd out on wildfires, that's the website for you.
Hey, man, and it's good to know, especially if you're traveling to some of these parks and places. You know, people you hear that with Glacier, you hear that with Yellowstone. Hey, how are the fires? Sometimes, California parks. You know, last year with Sequoia, Sequoia National Park was almost burnt. It was. I mean, it was good. Uh, I've been
Was
saying
that
it.
fire last year?
I think so. Last like fall, right?
Yeah, I feel like it was way longer, but it very well could be.
Or maybe 2 years ago. I mean, we've had some pretty bad
Yeah.
years. But like I was saying earlier this spring, man, I knew this fall, this kind of August, September, we are going to get some bad fires out west. They haven't been too extreme yet, which is good.
Yeah,
Just
the fires actually haven't been too bad. Just with this heat wave that we had, we also had a ton of lightning in the area. And like the wind was kind of picked up. It was kind of like the perfect storm to develop fires. There's like one day I remember thinking, I was like, shit, we have a fire somewhere popping up close by. I don't know where it is yet. And then sure enough, I think like the next day they closed that road going from Grants Pass down to like Crescent City. So
yeah, that's right. It's just dark, that dark purple, because that's probably
yeah,
what fire's at. And it sucks, but
yeah.
it is also part. It is good. Fire, you go to Yellowstone, you go to the visitor centers. They have some good topics on what fire actually and videos and whatnot on what fire does and what it brings back to the area, to the people. You
Oh,
know,
super, super. There has been a fire that's been burning for a while. Um, and I mean, it's been really raging, but it hasn't been like threatening or anything. So they'll typically kind of control it, but let it go.
yeah, we have a couple like that in northwestern Montana and then even Alaska, like you're saying, that they just kind of like
Hmm.
let them burn. They're
Yeah,
not they're not going to affect structures. It's part of the forest, the regenerativeness of the forest. So it's good. But
it is.
that's not what we're talking about today.
No, no, not at all. We're here because we try to do our best to help you guys all out, which means it is listener questions day. We took the listeners' questions, we've written them down, saved them. We're here to answer some more of these questions. There's some decent ones. I think there's a couple here that I hope if we answer them now, they'll help you in future planning, especially, depending on when you want to go. But anyways, we're gonna list your question. Ranger Zach, why don't you start us off?
Um, this one comes from Sue in I don't know. Doesn't She doesn't say where she's from. We are planning a 4-day trip to Yellowstone and Grand Teton at the end of September. Can anyone suggest hotels or itineraries for a 60-year-old couple would like to see wildlife? Thanks for any help.
Um, I think when it comes to like seeing the wildlife part, you can stick to kind of the roads if you really wanted. And I think you'll get plenty of wildlife in Yellowstone. So that's very helpful for the older couples, older people. They don't have to do strenuous hikes. There's plenty of non-strenuous hikes too that could get you closer. So, Yellowstone's kind of a really great park for older people.
It is, and we've always, I mean, click on any one of our Yellowstone episodes. We talk about how it's like a good beginner park. It's a good first park. It makes sense why it was America's first park. But in the sense, like, yeah, you can the boardwalks at all. A lot of the major places are in good condition and taken well care of. So if you're able to walk around and move around, that's great for the older ages. I would also recommend if you really want to see wildlife. Jared has kind of been running into this guy, especially in the winter. I think his name's Yellowstone Expeditions on Instagram, but he runs tours kind of in like a big van and will take you to the wildlife in the Lamar Valley throughout this summer and winter. All year really, but it's one of those. I mean, I do recommend Yellowstone Forever is also another good organization in Gardner there if you want to take kind of like a day tour, day trip where they'll take you to some of these places. I mean, I my grandparents went through Yellowstone and hated it because they went through Gardner and out west Yellowstone and they said we saw no animals. And I'm like, well, yeah, look where you were at in the park. The two best places to see animals are the Lamar Valley and the Hayden Valley.
Mhm.
So prioritize those if you want. And you got 4 days, Um, for an older couple, I would say probably a day, 1.5 days down in the Tetons and the rest in Yellowstone. Because you're not the hiking trails I think are a little more harder in the Tetons because it's more mountainy. Unless you're going to do like a boat tour cruise or something out on that lake. You can.
Yeah, no, I agree. If you're looking to get out and not do too strenuous of an activity, I do think spending more time in Yellowstone will be better. Um, you definitely still can get a good fix of Grand Tetons without getting too strenuous. I just think you're going to run out of those a lot sooner than you would like in the Yellowstone. And then, I mean, if you're looking for a good halfway point for the two parks, staying in the Old Faithful area, whether it's the lodge or whether it's the cabins in that area, that I think that's going to be your best option when it comes to splitting the difference, and maybe you start your trip in Old Faithful area and then maybe you go for a little bit of a different feel. You go like West Yellowstone, stay in a hotel or something in West Yellowstone, or maybe you go to Gardner, stay in the Gardner area. So, and but I would start Old Faithful for lodging that area just because of where for the two parks.
Right. No, that's a good idea. The hard part with lodging though is booking in advance.
Yes.
That's where you got to look, and you got to look when and what stuff's available when it's not available. Um, and plan your trip. I mean, if you're older, chances are you do have a little more free time. You could probably book it on a weekday, if you're not working. So that's a plus there. But
Yeah, and then the other plus would be like if you're doing like a small RV or small camper van type deal, then you could start looking at the first come first serve campsites. Maybe you're only able to get a cabin in Old Faithful for a night, but you wake up early and you go to one of the campsites and you're able to squeeze a campsite there for the next 3 nights, and so that could be a good alternative approach to it.
yeah, no, I like that. I think that's a good way of covering Yellowstone and covering that area.
For sure. Uh, Moving on. Another kind of like lodging slash what to do question. This one comes from a listener all the way in the great state of Virginia. Question is looking to go to Banff National Park for a short weekend in the fall. Looking for lodging and what to do. Any recommendations?
You say Bend?
Banff, Banff, up in Canada, Canada.
I'd let you. I mean, you're the Canada expert.
Yeah, I mean, lodging, you can stay in like Lake Louise, Lake Moran, or Moraine. You can even stay in the town of Banff. When you're staying in like the hotels and stuff, I do think it's going to get kind of expensive. So if you can squeeze a campsite, that's kind of the way to go. And they do have them. They have first come, first serve or reservations. So you totally can. As for what to do, I mean, go hit the lakes, whether it's Lake Louise, Lake Moran, up to Piotto Lake. You know, I I'm really partial towards jumping up to Jasper for like one of the days. But that's just because there's less people. The ice fields up there, which is super cool. There's not as many lakes up there. The drive to it, super pretty. It's one of the top 10 scenic drives. I don't maybe not top 10, but it's a scenic drive in the world, one of the more scenic drives in the world. Uh, so that's kind of the route I would go. If you want to beat crowds early morning, later in the evening, that's how you're going to do it there, especially around Lake Louise or Lake Moraine, because those areas are hot spots for people and people by the dozens.
Yeah, no, it's definitely when you see the pictures, you see the people in the pictures, like you're saying, um,
Hmm.
areas, and you know what it takes to be in those areas. I mean, yeah, and finding the clock where, hey, I'm gonna come here at 5 a.m., 4 a.m., I'm gonna be here at 9 p.m. Those kind of things that benefit a trip, I think. We get so structured. I mean, it's funny because like I like to joke at Yellowstone. It's like, look at everyone leaving at 5 o'clock, like gotta go get dinner in Gardner. I mean, it makes sense. The places in Gardner and like West Yellowstone and shit close. Like that we found that issue in Iceland too. Like things close at reasonable times. There's nothing's open 24/7 in the sense.
Hmm.
And that is a very city kind of concept. So you kind of got to be prepared on your own if you are going to do those things. But again, like I think there's nothing wrong with doing your activities in the morning or in the afternoon and then rolling into like say, hey, like, oh, we went on a hike this morning, but now we're going to have lunch at the lodge.
Yeah.
And then, oh, we're going to go do this event in the evening. Um, I want to check these parks out more. I just it's itching. It's just been like get up there, go. I'm a little bit closer now, so maybe I will. But definitely something I need to go do and see here like now.
Yeah. No, totally.
In need of LED lights for your vehicle? Look no further than our friends at Oxteo, keeping our vehicles well lit while on the road while looking for Bigfoot. Make sure to use code RUGARU, RUGARU, on your next set of LED lights.
Hey there, Reverend. I heard that you might be running dry on your sticker supplier.
Yeah, I've been looking around and I've kind of like run out of cool stickers to buy and put on water bottles and stuff.
Well, I mean, have you seen the stuff Josh has been coming out with lately?
No, I have not.
Well, he is doing some really cool stuff with the Shop LS 574. Yes, they're working with indigenous communities and making some really cool stickers. He has a really cool Buffalo Mountain sticker. There's even water bottles, hats, sweatshirts, the whole swag. And we even got a discount code for you guys. Yes, if you use Wandering Ways at Shop LS 574, you're going to be getting a discount on your next purchase. But not only that, you're going to be giving a percentage of that sale to the Little Shell Tribe, as well as they donate $1 of every sale to murdered and missing Indigenous women. So just such a cool thing going on there. You know, you use the code Wandering Ways, WANDERING and you put that in there, boom, you're getting a discount.
The Wild West is full of dangers, from snakes to bears. The outdoorsman must be prepared. That is why when you experience rivers like the San Juan or the Yellowstone, you must bring a blue ribbon net. Handcrafted and biodegradable, these classic wooden fishing nets are all you need while on the river. Make sure to use code RUGAROO10 when checking out at Blue Ribbon Nets. Again, the code is RUGAROO10. RUGARU10.
Banff's got a lot of cool stuff in it, or cool shit, as I like to say, which brings us to cool shit in nature. I've got two going with a little bit of an underlining theme that we have here at the Wandering Ways podcast. This one, someone decided to stabilize the famous Patterson Gimli footage. So, for the people just watching, you've probably seen the footage of Bigfoot. Someone just decided to stabilize it, and I thought, oh, I know who I should talk to this about Zach.
Yeah, what do you think about this? Like, I mean, this is the biggest like evidence, the big one they say,
Yeah.
the Gimlin film. It's cool seeing it walk, seeing the peak over the shoulder. You see everything, you see the bullshit that people talk about, like the fact that he's not or she, they think it's a she, they'll look over the shoulder, they look like they think it's a human, but to me it looks like a gorilla walking, basically.
Yeah, to me it looks more gorilla-esque.
Which
Either
makes
that or it's someone with a lot of back pain.
right. Well, and I mean,
So,
if that's what you hear, right? Like that's to me, I think it's a Bigfoot's more of an ape, and how we lived in harmony with these apes. But I don't know, man.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's kind of cool to see it stabilized. It's a little bit smoother.
Yeah, it's
Thought it was a
neat.
fun thing to talk about with chat.
Yeah, I
Second
like.
one, um, I know you sent this to me, and I know how much you miss them. So, bringing back the sheep of Iceland.
What did you think of it? Look at all the shit on the road.
Yeah, I bet you this is the sheep roundup.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, and I'm about it, man.
Yeah, it's kind of cool to see them all
Because
on
you
the
know,
road, and then they're just pushing them.
right, and you know how that those roads are, and you can just see like the people on their Icelandic horses just kind of round them up. They probably got yeah, probably dogs in there too, chasing them
Yeah,
around. And then didn't see a lot of dogs, but you know they're there. Um, and just the sheep, man. Look at that wool, nice wool sweaters right there. They're exclusive to Iceland. Like they're a genetic specific like domestic species of sheep that's only exclusive to Iceland.
yeah, these guys are. It's kind of wild. It's funny. I was talking to my sister, and they were in like Scotland and the UK and all that, and they must have a lot of sheep over there too, because that was one of the things they commented. They were like, "There's
Really?
sheep everywhere." So,
Nice. It makes sense. I like that. I like that black one right there. That all black one, right up front of the video.
yeah,
He's a good looking
it's
sheep. Makes you
I
miss
mean,
him.
there's some cool ones. Some every now and then you get a cool sheep. Um,
You killed sheep, right? No, that was pigs.
yeah, they jumped out of the back of a moving trailer. Um,
That gets me every time. You're just like you get to the place and you open up the trailer and you're like, what the hell?
yeah,
Like
that's a wild one for
where
sure.
did the pigs go? Oh, it
Yeah,
sucks. Farming sucks. Someone's got to do it
yeah.
though. Need
So
farmers.
yeah, someone does. And, I'm thankful for the people that do it, but it's not my thing. Not my thing. Anyways, moving back to the questions that the listeners have sent in. You got another one for us, eh?
I do, and this is something you're a little more better at answering questions like this. So this comes from Joel. He's looking at visiting the Grand Canyon in Arizona next April for spring break. He would like to Airbnb a place with a pool with some close hikes nearby. Some good ones, he says. Make sure they're good. Would Flagstaff be decent in April? The Airbnbs look desirable there, and the drive to the Grand Canyon looks okay. I'm thinking the Grand Canyon can be seen in 2 days, and we would check out the Sedona and surrounding attractions. Traveling with a wife who loves to hike and stay moving, along with teens that enjoy pools, zip lines, outdoor activities, etc.
I think the biggest curious I have is why you think I'm more adept at answering this question. I've only been to the Grand Canyon once. I do
Well, in
think
comparison
I
to farming, in comparison to
oh
farming.
okay.
Yeah.
No, that makes a lot more sense. Okay, that no, okay. I do think Flagstaff's a pretty good like home base, especially if you are gonna do the Sedona as well. First off, sounds like a great time, if I'm being totally honest.
Yeah.
Um,
I think April's a good time of year too.
yeah, April, I think so. It won't be crazy hot. Um, and because it's northern Arizona, it actually will be fairly cool. Um, I think it'll be very comfortable in reality, and green, which would be cool to see. I think it's going to be the most green you'll see. So, Sedona, I think, would be really cool this time of year.
Right. We went in May on our trip later May, and it was still kind of green in the sense that it was fresh, but I get what you're saying. Like when you look at like this Flagstaff area, this Grand Canyon area, what come April it would have. Um
Hmm.
I'm about it. I'm down to go. Sign me up. We'll travel with them. We'll show them along. Sedona, I think Sedona is going to be the place to do the outdoor activities. If you want to rent a Jeep tour, do the zip liney stuff or the stuff that's available. I think it's more in that Sedona area where Grand Canyon is more. You're not going to hike into the Grand Canyon, so you're just going to kind of view it, I think. So you're going to make Flagstaff that base.
If you're doing it 2 days in the Grand Canyon, I think one of the days you could hike down to the bottom. You just get there kind of early, make the day your hike down to the bottom, hike back up, and I think that would be a good hike as he's wanting.
Yeah, yeah, that would be. And then just Flagstaff. I mean, we saw there's so much there in that town, that kind of outdoorsy stuff. Hikes, Sedona, there's enough hikes. You see the pictures. I'm sure some California, LA girls got some blog on 10 best Sedona hikes. So I wouldn't worry about that.
For sure. Yeah, yeah. And I do think Sedona is going to be the highlight of that trip for. I mean, I don't know. The Grand Canyon's pretty freaking sweet. So if I'm being honest, it's going to be a hell of a time regardless. But Sedona, there's just going to be more opportunities for the zip lining, those kind of deals. Whereas if you're like Grand Canyon, you're gonna have to hike and they're gonna be tough hikes. So and I think Sedona's gonna have some elevation kind of climbs too. So I don't think regardless where you go, you're gonna have an easy hike or easier, but Sedona will be easier than like the Grand Canyon.
Right. Isn't Flagstaff? They're at like elevation.
Yeah, Flagstaff's up there.
They're like 7,000, I want to say.
Hmm. I think
Yeah.
so. I mean, they get snow, so
Yeah. They're high in elevation. The Grand Canyon, that's the other thing too with the weather, they say, is the weather at the bottom of the Grand Canyon is like what Phoenix is,
hmm.
not the
Yeah,
top.
I have heard that. So, but
Yeah.
yeah, no, I think Sedona would be good. As for the Airbnbs that they're looking for, I don't have like a good recommendation. You just got to find something that like you and your family fits what they want to do. So it's hard to
Right.
recommend a good Airbnb for people because I don't know how their family is.
Well, I think location more so. I mean, I don't think you need a pool in April because if you're in Flagstaff, it might like be more of a May, June that you want to be in a pool. You might use it, but you're not gonna, I don't think, spend your time around it where you might go with these other ones to, you might actually, it might be better to go hiking because it is cooler out. It's not 115 degrees. Um, I'd throw Page in there. If you're not wanting to do Sedona as much, if you're kind of like, oh, it's kind of too,
Mhm.
bougie in that sense, for
Yeah.
me, touristy in that sense.
Or the other thing that could turn people off from Sedona, is like the mystic kind of like vortex hippie vibe.
Yeah, yeah, the like
So
weird, yeah, the hippie, kind of, yeah, the hippie vibe that you get there. They're like, okay. I would go. I think Page isn't bad. I think it's an up and coming kind of touristy town by the Grand Canyon and Lake Powell right there. There's a lot
mhm.
of by Lake Powell. You can go do the Antelope Canyon on the Navajo Nation right there. Um, we camped on Lake Powell, which was easy. Airbnbs there. I think it also might be a little bit warmer than Flagstaff because you're more deserty that time of year. So if you are kind of wanting a pool, I think you might actually use a pool there. But that's just a thought.
Yeah, it'd be fun to kayak Lake Powell too.
I want to kayak up the
Mhm.
canyons, man.
Yeah, it would. But no, that's true. I kind of feel that. Moving on. This next one. This this comes from a listener in the state of Nevada.
Nevada.
Um, looking to do a Christmas trip. Don't know, would Zion Bryce, an Olympic or Banff trip be more ideal around Christmas? And they are wanting to do Christmassy stuff along with checking out all these cool areas.
I mean, shit. You said Zion, Bryce, and Banff, basically.
Or Olympic. Zion Bryce, Olympic National Park, or like a Banff National Park. Or yeah, Banff National Park.
Top two off the list. I want to say Olympic and Banff. I don't think Zion. Everywhere's going to be Christmassy because it's that time of year anyway.
Yeah.
Um, Zion and Bryce, you're going to get more of a Mormon Christmas and how they probably, a lot of the families and communities in that area are Mormon. So, however they celebrate the holiday, you're going to get that. And I don't think, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's the major religion there. You're going to get that appeal. So, whatever the community events are surrounded by that. I think if you want the snow, Banff, you want that wintry look, that Christmassy feel, Banff, number one. I think Olympic, you're not going to necessarily get the snow, but I do think you'll get the cabiny, cozy feel. I don't necessarily know how the Christmas stuff is. I think Banff would be number one personally, because they'll probably have stuff going on like in the like touristy areas as well.
I agree too. I would quickly off the list, I would go Banff for sure. I think Banff's gonna have more like Christmas lights. I think they're gonna have Christmassy activities like in the town of Banff. And then you can go check out all the different stuff that the park has to offer. So if you're looking to stay in one area for your whole time there, I think Banff's kind of the next or the top of the choices there. If you're willing to drive a little bit, I would actually take an Olympic National Park because I would probably start my trip in Leavenworth because that's a very Christmassy town, the whole Bavarian town. So there's a big Christmas vibe right then and there in Leavenworth. And then once you've gotten your Christmas feel, I then would head out to Olympic and check out all of the stuff that Olympic has to offer. But that's if you're willing to make that drive and have the time to make that drive.
And the ferry, probably from where you're at, you probably take a ferry over there.
Ferry or just travel, really. If you're
Right.
willing to make that travel, that distance change, because it'll be a few hours.
Right. And I mean, but you bring up a good point, because I do think Leavenworth as its own, because you're kind of close to North Cascades and kind of in that area where you're in the Washington Cascades, basically, in Leavenworth. It's a beautiful area. It's national forest, all that. Like it's got the juice, as they say. So
Yeah.
you could go, like, you could say, I'll do Olympic. I think Olympic, the time to go would be spring or fall, just because you do get that weather. But when it comes to um, Leavenworth, I think if you want the Christmas feel, the Christmas experience, that's the town. Like you can make your whole trip around Leavenworth, even if you're talking.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I agree there. And like if you're just dead set on a national park from Leavenworth, you can go north to North Cascade or even, and I think it's south to Mount Rainier.
right.
They're both close. So you can get a national park in and still enjoy Leavenworth.
Yeah,
So that's and as for like Zion Bryce, um, I'm willing to bet what's that town right outside Zion? I bet I'm willing to bet that's fairly cool around Christmas. I bet they've got some lights.
right.
They'll have Christmas activities. I just don't think you're gonna get as much of that Christmas feel as you would in like Leavenworth or even up in Banff. I think Banff would have way more.
I think Banff would feel like you would feel like you're in a Christmas village, and it would
Yeah.
be Christmas things going on kind of publicly as well.
Hmm.
More on the tourist level versus the like community level. Where like I think like you're saying, like, yeah, the town, I think it's St. George there. The town by Zion would have something go on, but it's more like, oh, it's at the community church and the community's putting on where it's like, oh no, the lodge does it outside for the whole town to see in Banff. I think that's where you're going to get more of that experience, which it teach their own. Maybe you do just like, oh, I want to go see national parks on Christmas vacation. I could care less about the Christmassiness. I'm going to go to a Zion and stuff, because that would be a decent time to do that.
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree with that one. Moving on, you got another question.
I do. This one comes from Joe, and she says, "Hi all. Going on a solo trip to several national parks that I have been told that have no cell service. I have mostly traveled and hiked solo in the past, but this trip, in addition to alerting rangers to my planned hike, I am thinking I should get a Garmin or ACR for emergencies. I don't need to text anyone while I'm hiking, but I want to be able to get help if needed. I would appreciate any input. Thanks." So,
Uh, I don't really have a whole lot of experience with the satellite phones, um, and that kind of, you know, part of me, I think you should. It's always better to be safe rather than sorry, especially if you are a whole solo hiker. So, I think you're making the smart move there. But as for like brands, I have a Garmin watch. I love it. I like Garmin products, so I can really speak on Garmin. Um, but I can't talk like Garmin GPS for like backcountry. I mean, I have GPS on my watch, but that's to track my bike rides and runs and swims and whatever I do. So it's a little different. But
I
Garmin is a great company.
But I think part of that too, your GPS on your watch, what people don't realize is, like, if you do alert rangers, like she's saying, like, hey, I'm going to be doing this backcountry hike for 3 days, and a lot of national park hiking, it's national forest where it's like it just becomes that little paper that you fill out like at the booth. That's where I think it gets sketchier and you do get into issues. But when you're in the parks themselves, telling a ranger you should be fine, because if you don't come back, or if you are on that, you have your permit or whatever, they are keeping an eye out, and you do have a Garmin watch where like they can find that GPS pin. Probably there might be an additional step that you and I can't do on a regular, but when you get the national parks involved, they have that connection to Garmin where they're like, hey, tap into this GPS, or we can trigger GPS targets in our area based on devices they may have.
Yeah, that could be. That could be. There's probably the search and rescue teams have some sort of way of notifying.
But there's nothing wrong with it. I do think
No.
having GPS phone, I had a Garmin Rhino kind of radio thing, uh, GPS for a while. I ended up selling it because I never used it. And then just knowing what you do, like one of the biggest things I know to do in the woods is if you ever, have an issue, you start 3 fires. You always start 3 fires and you put them in a triangle, and that's a sign of distress. So if anyone up above you, airplanes, which hello, like look where we're at, satellites, they see that frick fire. People, if they see fire, people freak out. No matter what it is. So if you can do that and get people to see you, that'll help. I always go back to the one. There was a guy, he took some back road and Mount Hood and took some forest road and got his car stuck, and then he ended up burning his car tires, but he just burned them one by one. And it's like, dude, if you're at like 2-3 days and no one's coming and you're life or death and you don't got food and that whatnot, just start a bigger fire. Like,
Mhm.
especially in the winter, I'll take debt versus death. I'll take the fucking insurance claim that would come from that.
Yeah, no, I agree there. But kudos to this person thinking safety first, wanting a GPS. They're gonna notify park rangers anyway. Um, I think I think that in and of itself is something that a lot of people can learn to do. There's a lot of people out there that are just like pop out of the car and go type deal. And
Like us.
unfortunately, I'm also willing to bet she may be over prepared for her skill level. She thinks about this, or I can't remember if she or he,
Yep.
but they think about this, and they probably have a lot more skill out there rather than the random person that's just pops out and goes and doesn't think about, oh, do I need a GPS? Should I tell someone, just because they don't do it as much? So
Right. Well, and looking at her picture here, she looks a little bit older. And if this is her in her profile picture, she looks a little bit older, and that could be it too. You're starting to realize, hey, if I'm doing this by myself, I'm not walking like I used to. If I twist an ankle,
mhm.
it's a little bit different. So it's thinking smart too. And nothing wrong with thinking smart, being safe. I think you get always err on the side of safety.
100%.
Bring an extra
100%.
roll of toilet paper.
Yeah. There you go. Um Well, that's kind of actually all we really have a lot of time for today. So we've gone through it. If you have more questions, we love answering questions. These are a lot of fun. So please send them our way. We'll keep tallies of them. Once we get enough, we'll do another listener's question episode. But we're done for today, which means we're moving on to our final words. So, final words, my guy.
I think kind of along the lines of questions, there's nothing wrong with asking questions, like this, and getting prepared and doing your research and figuring out what there is to do when you go to these places. Because a lot of times, you're spending money, you're doing something you haven't done before, you're going to a place that you might not be back for a while. So you want to be prepared. You want to make sure you have a good idea, because it's the one time you're going to go to Yellowstone. It's the one time you're going to go to Banff or wherever that may be. So you want to be planned ahead. You want to have that. So ask the questions, and there's dumb questions, but like ask them anyway, because if you don't know, then you stay dumb. Like you only get smarter by asking questions and learning and trying to figure out all that and be better. So as long as we can be better and learn and just be good stewards of the land, I'm all for it. So that's about it for me today.
100%, 100%. Reverend's final words of wisdom. Stay beautiful, everybody. Can't tell you how much I appreciate every single one of you for listening all the way through, listening to all the other episodes, and make sure you like, subscribe, all that fun stuff on the Instagram, the YouTube, all the places you find the Wandering Ways stuff. Just be great people. ELE. Everybody love everybody. There's really not a lot else there other than to just love everybody and keep doing amazing things and being amazing people. So, with that being said, peace out, everybody.
Bye.